So the theme of today's video is unpopular opinion. So I'm going to be featuring products that I think are either overhyped or unfairly maligned, as the case may be. So I'll be featuring one of the new Hourglass face palettes for holiday 2025, their new eyeshadow palettes again, and the Natasha Denona foundation. So if all that sounds good to you, make sure to like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I have skincare on, but I haven't really prepped my skin or applied any SPF. So I want to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to prep with the Rose Inc Solar Power Luminous SPF 30 Serum. I'm not sure how good of an actual sunscreen this is, but I am going to be basically spending the afternoon and evening indoors. We're going to see the new Downton Abbey movie tonight, so I'm very excited about that. And so this is really more about the hydration than the sun protection. You should, of course, always protect your skin from the sun. But I want to have a really nice and hydrated base before I go in with the Natasha Denona foundation. I have worn it a couple times already, and I think I talked about it a little bit in my Glossier review. So if you did see that review, you might know that I have dry skin, and the Natasha Denona foundation, unfortunately, is just not quite what I want in terms of a foundation. So we'll talk about that. I may be able to fit in a wear test. It's 2:45 to 3 right now, so maybe 8 hours. I don't think I'd probably go much longer than that. But also applying a little bit of this Refi Eye Balm underneath the eyes. So that's probably as dewy as I can make myself before makeup. If you did want another option to this, I know they're no longer sold at Sephora. The Make Reverse Emulsion is also one of my dewier prep steps, or the Glossier Fuchsia Dew, but I think that has some fragrance in it. So anyway, since we are doing kind of Natasha complexion, I got out the hy-glam correcting concealer that I have in the shade C1. I always use correctors underneath my concealer to try and cancel out some of that nonsense. I didn't really love this one. In fact, I don't really love her concealer generally, but I might as well go ahead and use this. I don't own her, I guess whatever her hy-glam serum is. She probably uses that as a base. I haven't watched any videos or anything she uploaded for the foundation, so I couldn't say for sure. So this is the corrector. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's okay with a corrector if the color looks a bit off because you're going to be covering it with complexion products that are your skin tone. So it's really there to neutralize any blue circles. So I'm going to go in with the Natasha Denona foundation shade in the shade R2 because I do have the concealer also in that shade. So I thought I would kind of compare those for you. I also bought it in N1 because looking at the pictures online, I just wasn't really sure. How do I want to swatch this? So that is what R2 looks like on the hand. It's a pretty good match. This is the shade N1. So I will swatch that one down here. And that one looks a little bit peach, kind of by comparison. And the frosted glass can kind of distort how the foundation looks. So I'll swatch the corrector shade first. So that's a little dot of that. And then I also have two concealer shades. The first one I purchased was RN1 because I thought neutral with slightly cool undertones would be great, but that is actually too light for me, I think. So then I purchased R2. And I think this is a better match all around. So that is R2. So we'll see how the R2 foundation and the R2 concealer go on the skin. I also have the powder foundation in R2 as well. I don't think she launched as many shades of the powder foundation. That's what the foundation looks like on my knuckle. I might use that to set a little bit. I haven't quite decided. I'm not sure if a foundation, like a powder foundation, is the best bet if I already feel like the foundation is a little dry, or if I'll be better off going in with a lighter weight powder. So let me clean this off my hand. I'll give you one more look there, kind of up close. So going in with R2, I think I might have worn N1 in a different video where I wasn't really talking about the foundation all that much. So I'll link that for you. I think it's on that side. In the cards if you want to check it out. I'll have to review my description boxes. So it's really interesting, this foundation, and I haven't seen anyone say anything super negative about it, I don't think. From what I've seen, like oily skin types have enjoyed it. And it's unusual just by nature of like a product's goals and formulation that a dry skin and a oily skin will both like the same product because they just have different needs. I think this is supposed to have some like oil control properties, which I think is partly why I didn't love it with my dry skin. And I am 40. Still feels a bit surreal, to be honest. I turned 40 in April. But yeah, just in terms of my skin type and all of that. So yeah, so I like the way that this looks initially. And again, like, I don't know, there might be a better shade match for me. I think once you get the rest of your complexion on, it kind of all balances out, and I don't have concealer, so that's kind of throwing things off. I think I might use a little bit more on my chin. I don't know if I'll have time to stop into the Sephora that's at the mall tonight or not. But it would be interesting to see kind of what I was shade matched with if there's a associate or whatever available. All right, let me throw in something into my brows. I'm just using the Thrive Brow Gel. And not everything that I'm going to be talking about here is something negative, obviously. I've been enjoying this. It's just a kind of clear brow gel. Okay, let's do the concealer now. So I have not enjoyed this concealer. I know a lot of people love it, and some people are just kind of so-so on it. I have not really enjoyed it. I feel like it's just a little... It sets down too dry on the skin. I think I like my concealers to stay a little bit more emollient. Like if you don't blend it in well enough, or if it doesn't kind of mesh with everything else, it just tends to look, I don't know, like a swipe of paint or something. Like you can kind of see the outlines of it. So make sure I blend that in. So I like to kind of go in first with a brush, just kind of spread things out. This is a BKA 506. If I need to, I will take my beauty blender and make sure everything is kind of melting into the skin. Make sure I go around my noses. Speaking of this, I'm actually kind of tempted to pick up one of Tati's brush sets. The dual-ended brush that she featured is kind of intriguing to me, and I don't normally like dual-ended brushes, but that, out of everything, is, I don't know, it just seemed the most kind of innovative. The thing that's kind of stuck with me. There's a lot of brushes coming out, or about to come out. I don't think I'm going to pick up the new Nikki LaRose brush set. It just doesn't really appeal to me. So using the Hourglass Veil Primer, I don't know if they're discontinuing this. Eyeshadow primer is such an essential part of my routine, but it just seems like brands aren't, I don't know, really committed to having them. Like the Fenty one I used for a long time. That one has been kind of hard to find. So I don't know. But yeah, we're going to be using some Hourglass shadows, so it makes sense to use their primer as well. So to set, before we go in with Hourglass, I guess I'll start with my Kosas around the eyes and my eyelids. So this is the Kosas Cloud Set in Airy. I don't know if it's the change in seasons or what, but I just feel like my skin has not handled drier products as well. So I like to set my primer in under my eyes. And if there's any creasing, I'll just kind of work to blend those out before I actually set them. So that's what we're looking like so far. I think I'm just going to use this all over. I don't know, again, if Natasha has recommended using her powder foundation. Oh, I guess I should have used some of the finishing powders. We'll use those on top. They're really not meant to be setting powders anyway, technically, so I got a little carried away there. So we're at least partially set. So let's talk about the Hourglass face palette, and then we'll do the eyes. So I did order mine directly from Hourglass, and it came very nicely packaged. I did pay for overnight shipping, so I've had this kind of sitting here for a while. I guess once I see other reviews start to go up, I'm just not like super hard pressed to get mine up as quickly as they have. So I did opt for the gift packaging. I like to kind of collect these. And they're also really good for storing your Hourglass palettes if you do like to collect them. So they included a really beautiful card here. Interesting envelope. It's kind of on a slant, and it says Hourglass at the bottom. So I guess you can't really use it if you're just giving some other kind of generic gift, which is fine. And then we have a nice swan. I think they all have swans, regardless of which palette you chose. And on the back here, it says, "The swan embodies grace, love, and serenity." So I only picked up one palette, and we have some ribbon. Yeah, I'm trying not to get any foundation or anything on this box. We have the ribbon. I only picked up one palette so far. There's always a chance I could get more. The ribbon has that elastic on it, so it's kind of easy to slip on and slip off if you need to for any reason. If you just want to check to make sure everything's kind of intact. And then on the inside, a swan sticker. Then we have more kind of protective tissue paper. I think if you ordered like more than one thing, like if you ordered one of their brushes or whatever, they would all come kind of wrapped together. This type of paper is really good for packing things if you're planning a move. So I haven't actually looked at mine yet, but yeah, I did get the deer palette. I'm tempted by the horse maybe, although I don't need it, and the swan. So last year I got both the light and the medium palette, and I compared it to, so we have the protective plastic here. So last year I got the light and the medium, and I think I was able to compare it to the light and the medium from like the previous 2 or 3 years. So I'll link that for you. So we have this metal packaging, and I'll say really, I mostly collect these for the artwork. Like if they were still doing kind of generic marble or gold packaging, I don't think I or a lot of other people probably would be as excited or enthralled by them. I think it's really clever what Hourglass started to do with a different artwork. I think this is the first time we've had this particular artist do the artwork. I think she's a tattoo artist based in like Ukraine, I think. So I don't mind that they kind of mixed it up a little bit that way, but I think I did prefer, I think her name was Katie Scott. She was the artist who did the packaging for like the last few years. And when I saw these being leaked in like July or whatever, I was actually on the way to my grandmother's funeral in Wisconsin. And if you know much about kind of Wisconsin and Wisconsin culture, there's a lot of hunting and that kind of thing. So in that way, you know, the deer did make me think of my grandmother. And I guess my grandfather by extension, like his nickname was actually Buck. A lot of people called him. He passed away almost 20 years ago now, but yeah, so it kind of made me think of my grandparents. So I was a little sentimental like that. And all the packages do have separate like flower motifs as well. Like I think the deer is freesia. I think the horse is roses. The fox might be peonies. I can't remember what this swan is. Anyway, it has it on the website, or I guess the different descriptions of the brushes. I kind of feel like the swan palette should have had freesia if you're a Twilight fan, but that's kind of neither here nor there. So those are the shades, and I'm sure a million people have told you what all the different shades are. I'm gonna go in with that. That is a finishing powder in Dreamlight. So we get 2 finishing powders. I might do one of these under one eye and one under the other, just to kind of see. So this is a Sonia G TF3, I guess, brush. So my biggest complaint with these is that they don't often have the combination of products that you would want. So going into the other finishing powder, same brush, just so you can kind of see if there's any difference. They don't often have like the ideal combination for either your skin tone or your preferences. So I think I maybe like the other one a little bit better. Just going over with that, try to blend them out a little bit. So there's that. The pan size is also pretty small. Like I'll go in with that bronzer, and that is in Diffused Bronze Light, which I do actually have here in the full size. I have actually been enjoying this quite a bit. Someone recommended this, I think, in my like Farrah Hamidi, like rosy bronzer video. So with the Hourglass products, a lot of them have that marbling. So the exact kind of combination of those 2 shades may vary quite a bit. That's just kind of luck of the draw, I guess. I'm gonna go in with more of this finishing powder, just kind of the center of the face. And with some of these products, like a finishing powder like this, I can get this brush into. And if you use one of their brushes, especially the ones that are kind of limited edition that they market, I guess you're more likely to get a good result if you like their brushes. They are dual-ended, which is not always my favorite, like I said earlier. But yeah, for bronzer especially, I always just struggle a little bit. So I guess I can actually demonstrate here. I'm going to take this IT Cosmetics Airbrush Tapered Bronzer Brush, which is what I like to use for bronzer. And I'm just kind of wiping it off on my Sigma switch here. I think this was in the 21 Days of Beauty. I don't know if it's already passed or whatever. I was going to do a video about the 21 days, but I never got around to it. So using this kind of small pan, and try to pick it up on my brush. And I think like Charlotte Holcroft was like, well, you can just kind of go like over the edge of the pan a little bit. So yeah, I understand, like, especially when you're traveling, like these could be really great. Or if you just want to try a lot of the formulas at a discount. But if you are a collector, I don't know, it just kind of depends how precious you are with your makeup, I guess. Like I wouldn't want this cover to get kind of scratched or dinged or anything. So I'm not likely to travel with it. Obviously, I have a lot of Hourglass products at this point. So I guess for me personally, they just don't really serve a use in my collection. So using the bigger pan now, same brush. And the surface on this one is a little bit more kind of disturbed, if you will. So it can be a little bit easier to pick a product. I'll make that disclaimer. But I guess just generally, I just don't love face palettes as much. Like the Makeup Forever ones, I'm kind of not a huge fan of. So, you know, it's not bad. It's just maybe a little bit easier and faster to use the single component, or if you only want to use one Hourglass product, you may not care about having the entire palette. I can understand, like, if you are pretty minimal again, wiping off my brush and going back in with this one. Ideally, I guess I would have had a clean brush so we could really have been more scientific about it, but I just went over the outside. That's fine. Yeah, if you're really minimal and you just want one kind of beautiful compact on your vanity or in your makeup bag to dip into, I get it. I do get the appeal, but I also think a large part of it is just the design and the limited edition nature of it and scarcity mindset and all of that. Okay, so I'm going to start off with that pink shade, and these are not blush shades that I would typically go for. I'm going to use the Refer number 5, which does okay. This is a natural hair brush. That's what that looks like. Yeah, so the blushes are typically where I'm the most intrigued to try a different palette other than the one that's like more specifically kind of made for my skin tone. I might try, should I try a little bit of the coral? This is still the pink. I'll try a little bit of this coral shade and then kind of blend them out. So just flipping my brush over and picking some of that up like so. Maybe it is good to kind of be shaken out of your comfort zone. I typically go for a shade more like Mood Exposure. And I think one of the palettes is that the Horse palette has Mood Exposure. So that is the coral shade and that is the pink shade. Not a huge difference on the skin. They seem a little bit softer. I'm going to take some of that pink now just to kind of blend them a little bit now. And you could absolutely just kind of run your brush across both shades and go in directly to the cheek if you want kind of a third blush option. So, you know, the Hourglass blushes are great. I won't deny that. I just feel like everyone always loves the blushes the most. Like that's what they talk about. That's, you know, what they get excited about, how many blushes are in a particular palette. I don't think most people are kind of as excited about having multiple finishing powders anymore. I still think one of the best palettes that Hourglass ever put out was the 3-pan blush palette in their kind of original form factor. So we had Mood Exposure, Incandescent Electra, and Luminous Flush. And these are a bigger pan size as well. They're not quite full size. I think the blushes might be smaller than this, but anyway, they're not quite that size and they're not as small as that. So this to me was a really great kind of happy medium. And I do actually love a blush palette, ironically, because I feel like with face palettes, like you're kind of limited, but with a blush palette, it's great to just have one thing that you can reach for, that you can like pick a variety of different blush shades. I'm going to go in with a little bit more of that kind of middle finishing powder if I can on this BK103. This is what I typically like to use for powder. Try to get some on that brush. Yeah, so I like a blush palette, because often I will kind of do my eyes first and then go in with the blush or whatever. So just going over that cheek a little bit, same finishing powder just to kind of tone it down and blend a little bit. So that is it for everything except for the highlighter. So I really like the AVH A23 for highlighter. And this has no problem. I think most highlighters, you're using such a targeted amount that you don't really need to have a huge brush. Just blend a little bit down the cheek. So this is pretty subtle. I don't mind a subtle highlighter. You know, it tends to be a little bit more flattering. I'm not sure if that's still where the trend is, or if we've already swung back to beaming highlighter. All right, so that's it for the palette. Like it's pretty. I just think that unless you buy one and use it throughout the year and actually hit pan on some of these shades, and then you're just happy to pick up the new one. All right, so I think that is it for the face. So let's talk about these Hourglass eyeshadow palettes. So I did upload a video when they first launched where I swatched all of them, and I think I can just tell you a little bit about kind of my thoughts and how I've been using them now that I've had them for a while. If I had to kind of rank them or tell you which ones I recommend picking up, I have been enjoying the all matte palette probably the most, just because it's such a basic, useful palette. So this is the all matte palette. I did actually put stickers on the back that indicate what they are, because otherwise they're just all the same. So the matte palette has been really useful. My other favorites are probably the Rose, to dip in for some kind of more metallic shades. And then also probably the all metallic palette for the same reason. So the neutral shades are a little bit deeper as far as the metallic shades go, and then the warm is just not really my, I guess, preferred color combination. So yeah, I would say the matte and then probably the Rose or the metallic would be how I would rank them. The Modernist, you can see I put it back in the box. I did use this on the eyes, but I think it's just a little bit more of a challenge. This is the cool toned kind of purpley color story. So just maybe not shades I'd want to reach for as often. So I have actually been using these and reaching for these a decent amount, and mostly for work looks, which is where I kind of think these really shine. So going into the all matte palette with my Sigma Large Fluff E50 and just taking that cream matte shade and putting that all over the lid. So I do still have the same kind of criticisms of the packaging. This mirror is a little small. I understand what they were going for in trying to make it recyclable. But as I said in that video, I would prefer a forever component that's magnetic and then just have metal pans. And that would be especially great with these little quads that you could kind of customize. So taking my Sonia G Classic Crease, I don't know if I ever use this in a video or not, but going into that light brown kind of shade. So I do still have some critiques of the component, but I think it's interesting, especially now that we've had these holiday palettes come out. And of course, everyone or most people are generally pretty excited about them, or just talk about how much they use them, that kind of thing. I feel like these eyeshadow palettes, and I never tried the original ones where they did try to make it customizable and that kind of thing. Like, I think at a certain point, the expensive Hourglass products does become a little excessive, or just the way they're trying to do it. But yeah, single shadows, even ones that are made to go into a different component, just using my flat definer on that brown shade, do tend to be more expensive. Like if you remember the Urban Decay kind of system, I think their single shadows were like 20 bucks, I think, thereabouts. So yeah, that I think is just inherently going to be more expensive. Using my mini booster in the darker brown shade now, that one. But for the Hourglass customer, you know, this is kind of a luxury brand. So the price point is going to reflect that. And I think Hourglass does also tend to be a little bit more, taking my Classic Crease again with the light brown shade. Hourglass does tend to be a more kind of subtle, sophisticated brand. You know, it's not super trendy. Like, they're all about kind of products and finishes that are really flattering on a lot of people. And I think especially as you become a woman of a certain age, we'll say, it is really important to, I don't know, pay attention to things like that. I'm not saying you have to spend a lot of money to get good quality makeup, or that any other makeup is going to look bad on you. I'm just saying as you get older, you do tend to appreciate some textures kind of more than others, and find that some things are a little bit more flattering and easy to use. So I don't remember if these are talc free. I think they are, which isn't like a super big concern to me, but I know it's important to some people, and I think there are concerns about what the European market might require here from a regulatory standpoint. So I think that's even. It's always a lot harder applying my makeup in a small little mirror here. So yeah, so there's that. I also find that, especially if you just want kind of everyday easy looks, I'm going to go in with Rose. I'm going to take a Rephr 28 in that light cream, and then I'll go in with that slightly darker shade as well. You don't want something that's going to take a year and a day to blend or cause a lot of fallout. So basically, I think there's a time and a place for these, and I think if you are a luxury beauty shopper that wants kind of a more like professional, appropriate look, that you're not going to have glitter and everything on your eyelid, I think these are pretty, and I have worn them to work a lot. So I guess what I'm saying, there is a customer for these. I think they could have been improved in some ways. But if you are that type of customer, or if you are interested in kind of an easier approach to doing your makeup in the morning that doesn't require a lot of thought, then I think these are really nice. Honestly, if Hourglass released limited edition eyeshadow quads for the holidays that had fun artwork on them, I wonder if they would get the same kind of hype. And I do think that would make them a lot easier to distinguish as well, which would be a big win in my book. That's also true of like the YSL quads though, which I did compare to the Hourglass in this video. These are the same price, and I think the same amount of product. As fun as that packaging is, it's not recyclable, which, you know, depending on how quickly you go through makeup may not even matter. And they're also kind of difficult to tell apart unless you get like a special edition holiday palette or something. So that was the Lisa Eldridge eyeliner in Ground Coffee, which is their brown shade. I think these are even enough. Like I said, it's a little hard to get things kind of perfectly even and blended on in this little mirror, but I do my best. And I will show you, just because I had a close look, I don't know if you can see, yeah, like the Natasha Denona concealer there, you see how it's like, you can see it on the skin. It just always seems to do that somewhere once it's kind of dried down. So curling my lashes with the Surratt lash curler. And then I'll give another plug for my favorite mascara, which I think is criminally underhyped. I never hear anyone else talk about it. This is the Lights Camera Splashes from Tarte. So it's waterproof, so it's pretty good about holding my curl and lasting, which is why I like it. I have very straight, not so great lashes. So it has that aspect of waterproof mascara, but it's not a total pain to remove. It is more on the volumizing side. So if you really want super defined lashes, it might not be your favorite, but I always try to stock up whenever it's on a good deal. All right. And then for lips, I'll probably go with something I think is maybe the right amount of hype, if you can say that. So I've really been enjoying this Ilia lip pencil. So I just have these little deluxe samples that I got from like Ulta gifts with purchase. So that is Banquette, and this is Genre. I would love it if they, maybe I'll do Genre again. I would love it if they put out a set of these for the holidays. They're just like really creamy and precise, which is not something you always see. I think Ilia is having a 20% off sale right now. I think I remember Andrea Ali talking about these. All right. So that is the final look here. It's about 3:45, so we need to get going to the movies. Like I said, I might try and do a check-in later tonight. I am hoping that I can film another video when I get home tonight, so hopefully the makeup holds up okay. So in case I don't speak to you later tonight, just to kind of sum everything up, I do tend to pick up at least one of these Hourglass palettes, if not multiple, for nostalgia or the collector in me, mostly due to the packaging. So even though I buy them, I think they are kind of overhyped. The Hourglass palettes, like I said, I think these serve a purpose. So if you were interested in one of these, maybe look to pick one up during like the Sephora sale that's coming up. I think it starts for Rouge members on Halloween, so October 31st. So yeah, so I think they are good for what they are. And the Natasha Denona foundation, it is a little bit heavier than maybe what I would typically go for like work and that kind of thing. So it's not my new favorite. I would personally probably go for the Makeup Forever Hydro Glow, which I reviewed. I think that one is better for dry skin, or the Patrick Ta foundation, which is one of the few products from Patrick Ta that I think I actually like, or just some kind of lighter skin tint, that kind of thing, depending on what I want. All right, so I am back from the movies, and I thought I would do a little check-in before I do some touch-ups here. So this is how the makeup is looking after, gosh, a little over 5 hours, I think. So I think I started filming around 2:45 and then finished around 3:45, and it's now about 10 past 9. So about 5 hours, let's say. So that is how it is looking. The only thing I've done so far was, I was wearing sunglasses earlier, so I did kind of try to rub those marks that you get just to kind of blend in everything. But yeah, I'd say in general, it looks a little heavy and cakey on the skin. I think it did kind of wear away around the mouth area a bit. I did eat a lot of popcorn, and we had some sushi as well. So I'll touch that up a little bit. It's looking a little cakey around the mouth. And then I'm also kind of shiny on the forehead. So I'm just going to touch up with some of this Kosas powder. Normally I would just kind of let it go until the end of the night, but I do want to film another video here, so just touch up with some powder on the forehead, take down some of the shine, and then often what I'll do around the nose, sometimes I do this at work as well, I have like a little travel set, just kind of blend that out a little bit. I like how this has a really pointed tip, so it's good for kind of getting in the nose creases, and I'll touch up my lip. That kind of wore away. The Sephora I went to, and sometimes I'll just kind of, if I have any creases or anything underneath the eyes, again, the tip of this is really good. But yeah, the Sephora didn't have any of the Natasha Denona foundations in store. I don't know if any Sephora locations have it in store, at least yet. Or if they've kind of gone to Ulta now, but I think that looks better. Obviously not fresh, but better. And then reapplying my lip. So this is, again, the Ilia little pencil in Genre, I think I used. I just put some of the Naturium lip balm on before as well, so my lips are pretty well prepped. Yeah, so I am thinking of picking up more of these. I need to place my order for the Sephora Friends and Family sale by tomorrow, I think is when it ends. So you can expect a Sephora video coming up here soon. So again, that is what we are looking like 5 hours in. So I'll try to check in another 3 or so hours before I wash it off and go to bed. But I hope this was a good check-in for you. All right, so final check-in of the night. It is about 1/4 after midnight. So I have been wearing this makeup for 8 to 9 hours, I believe, at this point. So yeah, I haven't done any touch-ups or anything since I last saw you. And I don't know if you can hear the kettle. It's on auto reheat or whatever. I seem to have lost some coverage on my nose. I don't know if I was scratching it. I do definitely feel like I'm ready to scratch my face off. Like, it just feels uncomfortable. I feel like my neck is a bit flush, so don't get too caught up with that. The blush is still there, so that's something. And I think the eyeshadow has held up well also. No smudging or anything that I can see. So yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me. It's not comfortable. I don't think it looks the best. I'm just a bit perplexed by this foundation, to be honest. I guess I didn't like the concealer, and I feel like a lot of people that did like the concealer have given the foundation pretty positive reviews. So an 8 or 9 hour wear test is really not that long. I mean, my workday would last longer than that with commuting and everything. So yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't feel comfortable. I don't think it looks the best. I think, still prefer the Glossier Stretch Foundation, which I wore in my Glossier video, and on a day-to-day basis. When it was super hot and humid out, I was wearing the Lisa Eldridge Skin Tint. Now that it's kind of cooled off a little bit, I've been wearing the CL a bit. So yeah, I guess in general, maybe I prefer lighter coverage anyway, but I'm not a fan. And I think everything I said about the other products kind of still stands. So no big developments in that regard, but hope you guys found this video helpful or interesting. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.